Welcome back to the pub, everybody. So recently, I was watching an episode that our friend Dara posted on his channel, and he did a Q&A episode that he does every once in a while, and one of his Instagram followers asked him, if you opened a pub, what would be 3 beers that you would have on tap in your pub? And I thought that was just the most beautiful question. Like, for a beer explorer, for a fan of beer, if you're building your own Irish pub from the ground up, my friend. Whatever, maybe your pub isn't an Irish pub, whatever it might be, whatever the architectural styling. You're building it from the ground up, and you get to choose the 3 beers that you are going to offer to your clientele and that you will have access to every time you go to hang out in your own pub. I think that's the most beautiful question. We've already done top 3 desert island beers. This is different. This is a very, very different question.
It is.
Because beers you would bring to a desert island with you, like the only 3 beers you could have for the rest of your life in can or bottle, whatever, that's different. This is sitting in a pub on tap specifically. If you notice, I don't have a beer in front of me on the table right now. It's because the beer I'm going to be having during this episode, which is very unlike us. Beer bracket episode, we always have a beer along, while we're hanging out in the pub. Is going to be my first beer on tap. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to let you start.
All right.
What's your first beer that you would have on tap in the Alessandro Beer Brackets pub?
It's a very good question, my friend. Very good question, my friend. I think one that I would absolutely have in my home pub is one that if you had asked me, I think 10 years ago, it wouldn't probably have been there. But now really? It definitely is. The Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. A beer that has absolutely grown on me since I moved here to the U.S. And I just find it extremely reliable. On tap is just like even better. To start with, it would probably be that one.
I was thinking about that because recently I just had it on tap for the first time a couple of weeks ago, coming down to Florida to visit you. I had it in my hotel. It was amazing. It was incredible. On tap, it takes on a whole new life. And if you're only going to have a choice of 3 different beers, having that kind of delicious, legendary pale ale is just the perfect choice. Wow. Yeah, great way to start, man. The beer that I'm going to be cracking open to drink for the rest of this episode in the pub here is actually a beer I've never had on tap. But it sits on our Perfect Beer Roundtable, and I have heard that it is wonderful. I have heard that it is an experience that it is even better on tap, and that is the Paulaner Weiss beer. I would have this one on tap in my pub without blinking an eye, because not only does it sit on our Perfect Beer Roundtable, to me, probably the best wheat beer I've ever tried in my life. Very close. Tied with Wine Stefano, which also sits on our Perfect Beer Roundtable. But oh my God, if it is somehow better on tap, if it has some better characteristics, whether it's the mouthfeel, the taste, the aroma, if something is improved on tap, how can you go wrong? How can you go wrong with having a delicious German wheat beer that has a perfect rating from Beer Brackets on tap in your pub?
It's a very good choice, my friend. That's an excellent choice. And meanwhile, I'm pouring also, I was waiting for you just so we're both having a beer so we can cheer. I'm opening the very good beer from our friends at Tampa Bay Brewing Company, the Gourd Gone Wild. Since we're filming right about time before Thanksgiving, so it's a beer that I always like to have around. Cheers, my friend.
That's awesome. Love Tampa Bay Brewing. Dude, look at this beer. The Paulaner wheat beer, it's just, look at the head, the carbonation, the body on this beer. Imagine this on tap. If anybody watching has tried this one, definitely let me know down in the comments what you think about this one on tap. But the aromas, I'm like lost for words with this beer. Remember how I described it as being sort of like, remember those sesame bagels, the Montreal sesame bagels?
Yes.
Dude, I get that on the aroma. Just incredible.
Wow, that's nice. That beer is just phenomenal.
And look at this thick, just pure paper white head on it too. It's so thick and fluffy. It's just like, it's almost like I feel like I could turn this cup upside down and it wouldn't pour out.
It just holds the beer inside, right? My second beer, here I'm a little bit of a conundrum because I think I can say this beer, but I'm going to give an alternative for people that might not have had it because it's a local beer. And I think you'll agree when I say that Berry House Tampa Export is probably the quintessential lager that I would want to have
It's so
on
good.
tap.
So good.
It's such a delicious beer. I would just want to have that like all the time around available. But since this episode, it's a beer that I invite you to try and find, but it's mostly available local, so it might be difficult for you to get. So I'm going to give a slash here alternative that is more available, and I'm going to say Pilsner Urquell, my friend. I think that would be my second choice.
That was going to be my number 2.
Really?
It really was. But
Great
I have
minds.
a few that I can go with, so I'm going to go with something else. But that was going to be my second one.
All right.
With a lucre tap?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
my friend. See, now we were thinking alike. But see, the good thing is that our pub is the Beer Buckets pub. So if you have 3, I have 3. So it's best to have like different ones so we can share.
And I commented on Dara's video, and my 3 are there, and it was Pilsner Urquell was there.
See, we're on the same page, man. Oh, that's hilarious.
No, because you know what? You need a lager, right? So I had the wheat beer.
You need a
I
lager.
think we're both going to have the same number 1. I think that goes without saying. And you definitely need a lager. Pilsner Urquell is kind of... that would be my second one. But if I had to choose a replacement, I like that you said the Barry House Tampa Export. There's one very similar made by, I think, the Canadian version of Barry House, Silo Brewing, here in Montreal. And they make an amazing lager that I would love to have on tap in my pub. The Franconian, they call it the Franconian lager by Silo, Microbrasserie Silo here in Montreal. That will be my number 2. Because I'm going wheat beer, delicious, epic, world-class wheat beer, and delicious, epic, world-class lager that, again, you have with those side pull lucre taps. You can get the nice creamy head on it. Perfect for any beer lover out there. All right, man. What is your first? The final beer that you would have on tap? And I'm pretty sure we're going to have the same one.
Well, this one is I think it's pretty obvious for anybody who follows beer brackets. My number 1,
Ultimate
and
beer.
that would be, if I only had one, it would absolutely have to be Guinness. That there's no doubt about that. Like, because that's just a dream. Like thinking of, finishing a week on Friday in your home pub and just going there and pouring yourself like a fresh pint of Guinness. That's just like heaven.
I would agree with you. It's got to be Guinness as well, because you need. I just need that. For me, that completes. It's like the holy trifecta of beer. If I have the delicious wheat beer, the delicious lager, and the delicious stout, that's just the complete trifecta for me. If there was a fourth, maybe I'd throw an ale in there, like a British style ale. But for me, if I'm just choosing 3, got to be Guinness. Although, for the official lists, for the sake of this episode, I'll say Guinness as well, because it's our ultimate beer. One of, if not my favorite beer. So yes. But if we were comparing our lists side by side, we were opening competing pubs next to each other.
I like that.
But, friendly, competing in a nice way.
Yeah, of course.
We share, resources, and we hang out at each other's pubs. And of course, but if we were separate and I had to choose something a little bit different, I would go with Beamish, because I had a pint of Beamish this past couple of months ago on a trip down to Ireland, and it was fantastic. A little bit more roasty and chocolatey, a little bit more flavorful than Guinness. Very similar characteristics, just everything upped a little bit, but with a little bit of an extra chocolatey character in there. So if I had to contrast against you, I would put Beamish in there, but Guinness would be my first choice. Let us know down below, everybody, if you're opening your own pub, your own bar from the ground up, what would be your 3 beers that you would have on tap? Let us know. This is interesting. This is a fun conversation. For anybody who's a beer fan, this is a fun one to think about. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for joining us.